Hello everyone, and welcome back to today's video, where we will be discussing that, is inflation good or bad? You already might seen a bunch of other creators talk about this, but no one explains its real importance. So here is the video of every answer, and it is important for all of us to understand how it affects our daily lives. Firstly, what inflation is. Inflation refers to the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and, subsequently, the purchasing power of currency is falling. In other words, the same amount of money that we used to spend on goods and services a few years ago now buys us less due to the increase in prices. Well, inflation can have both positive and negative effects on the economy. Let's discuss each of these effects in detail. Here are the positive effects of inflation. Point number 1. It increases government revenue. Inflation can lead to an increase in government revenue through increased tax collections. This additional revenue can be used to fund various government projects and programs. Point number 2. It reduces debt burden. Inflation can reduce the real value of debt over time. For example, if you borrowed $1,000 at a 5% interest rate and inflation is 2%, the real value of the debt decreases over time. And that's quite interesting. Well, these are some positive effects of inflation. Now let's talk about some of its negative effects too. Point number 1. It decreases purchasing power. Inflation can reduce the purchasing power of money. When prices rise, people need to spend more money to buy the same amount of goods and services, leading to a decrease in purchasing power. Point number 2. Gives an instability in the economy. When prices are rising rapidly, businesses may be hesitant to invest in new projects, as they are unsure if they will be able to recoup their costs. This can lead to a slowdown in economic growth and can ultimately harm the overall economy. Well, back to the topic, inflation is typically measured using the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which is a measure of the cost of a basket of goods and services that the average household purchases. What is CPI? Well, we will talk about it later soon. Now let's explore the arguments for why inflation can be good. The first one is that inflation can stimulate economic growth. When there is inflation, it can encourage consumers to spend money and invest in businesses because they know that the value of their money will decrease over time. This can lead to more economic activity, which can be beneficial for businesses and the economy as a whole. The second argument for inflation is that it can help reduce debt burdens. If inflation is occurring, then the value of debt decreases over time. This can be especially helpful for individuals and businesses that have taken on a significant amount of debt, as it can make their debt payments more manageable. And the third argument for inflation is that it can help increase wages. If there is inflation, then the cost of living increases, and this can put pressure on employers to raise wages to keep up with the higher cost of living. This can be beneficial for workers, especially those who are in low-paying jobs. There are also several arguments against it. The first argument is that inflation can lead to a decrease in purchasing power. When there is inflation, the value of each individual unit of currency decreases, which means that individuals can buy less with the same amount of money. This can lead to a decrease in the standard of living, especially for those who are on fixed incomes. The second argument against inflation is that it can lead to uncertainty in the economy. If there is inflation, it can be difficult for individuals and businesses to plan for the future because they do not know what the value of their money will be in the future. This can lead to a decrease in investment and economic activity, which can be detrimental to the economy. The third argument against inflation is that it can lead to a decrease in the value of savings. If there is inflation, then the value of savings will decrease over time. This can be especially harmful to individuals who are saving for retirement or for other long-term goals. Well, coming on to the final conclusion part. So is inflation good or bad? The answer is that it depends on the situation. While inflation can have some benefits, it can also have some negative consequences. Ultimately, the goal of policymakers is to maintain a stable rate of inflation that is not too high or too low. This can help ensure that individuals and businesses can plan for the future and that the economy can grow in a stable and sustainable way. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you found it helpful in understanding the complexities of inflation.